In the past couple of months, ADC has become the only viable opposition party left in Nigeria.
The David Mark factional ADC leadership appear to also be indulging in self-delusion by positioning themselves as the leading opposition. You know, they were claiming yesterday as leading opposition, they were being crippled. I think it's act of self-delusion, and you see the reason. When their recent electoral outings clearly suggest otherwise. Since the so-called coalition of confusion came into being last year, we have had at least 3 sets of elections. We had election August 16, the by-election in 17 constituency. PDP won 1, ABGA won 2, NNPP won 1, APC won all the remaining 13. ADC did not get anything. Recently, at the FCT area council election, 6 local government councils were on offer. They did not win anything. 62 councillorship positions was on offer. They did not win anything. Then on that same day, 2 by-election was conducted, each in Rivers and Kano State. They did not win anything. So what's the leading opposition? What barometer are you calling yourself leading opposition that we are going to be losing any wink over? Gentlemen of the press, you cannot lay claim to national relevance while your performance at the post remains abysmal and unconvincing like that of the factional leadership of the ADC. Since the inception of their so-called coalition of confusion, they have been proudly rejected at the post by Nigerians, including during the recently held local government area council election held in the federal capital territory. A party that cannot produce 1 councillor out of 62 in FCT and say there's a leading opposition. Where is the opposition? Leadership of the opposition is not declared through press conference. You cannot just say, I'm leader of opposition, I'm leader of opposition through press conference or rhetoric. It is earned through consistent electoral credibility and public trust, both of which they have struggled to demonstrate. They don't have public trust, they don't have electoral viability, they don't have electoral acceptability. So it is engaging in self-delusion for David Mark and his co-traveler to be saying they are leading opposition and therefore APC is afraid of them. Who we are afraid? All the elections you have done and we have met, you have not even shown. Absolutely. And even when we look at the quantum of votes that they garner is so, so low that even they are not. They ordinarily INEC should deregister them because they are just wasting the time of Nigerian people.
We remain confident that no level of desperation would have driven the government and the INEC to take a direct action against the ruling of the court, but we were wrong. It was therefore, to our surprise yesterday, 1st of April, that INEC issued a press statement after the close of business hours, announcing that it had decided to withdraw recognition of both the ADC leadership, which I heard, and the fictitious one purportedly led by Nafiu Bala Gombe, thereby creating a false equivalence between the parties. By purporting to recognize Nafiu Bala Gombe as a faction, INEC seems to have conveniently forgotten that this individual had resigned his position to the knowledge of INEC itself. The crux of the matter is the interpretation of what constitutes status quo ante bellum, which the Court of Appeal directed should be maintained. What one would have expected was for INEC to approach the Court of Appeal to request a judicial interpretation of what truly represents the status quo under the circumstances. But INEC did not do this. While posturing to the neutral, its actions confirm that it has become irredeemably partisan, working, as it were, towards a preconceived agenda. With this action, this INEC has left no one in doubt that it has chosen the path of dishonor and has become complicit in undermining Nigerian democracy. It therefore can no longer be trusted. What we say in essence is this: INEC cannot choose to fix the status quo from the day it took the administrative action to uphold the names of the new ADC members on its website. Because INEC does not have the power to determine for any political party who its leaders should be. That decision was taken on July 29th, 2025, not on September 9th. With its press conference yesterday, INEC has invented a status quo that never existed, because there was no time that the African Democratic Congress, ADC, did not have a fully constituted leadership. What INEC has done is to create a situation that by its own curious logic leaves the ADC without leadership. This certainly cannot be the status quo that the Court of Appeal directed should be preserved. It is an INEC invention that is not known to any Nigerian law. There is only one conclusion that Nigerians can draw from the 1st of April 2026 action taken by INEC. The electoral umpire has taken sides. It can no longer be trusted. As a matter of fact, INEC has acted in contempt of the Court of Appeal and has therefore acted unlawfully. My fellow Democrats, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is not the
Nigerians must know that the present predicament of David Mark and his ilk has to do with the untidy way they hijack the leadership of an existing political party without carrying along all stakeholders, resulting in court litigation before the Federal High Court, and the adverse judgment of the Court of Appeal, upon which the INEC predicated its decision not to recognize any of the two contending parties for the leadership of the African Democratic Congress, pending determination of the pending suit at the Federal High Court. And 40 cases were filed in different courts. But we assembled the best lawyers of legal brains in Nigeria to confront those cases and dealt with it. We were not complaining. Today, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that is President of Nigeria, was in opposition since 2027 when he left government. He did not leave his party to go in 2007. He did not leave his party to go in and join other party, even when he was the only AD governor in the entire. But if we have politicians of doubtful electoral viability and politicians who are ready to abandon even the platform they have created, how is that the problem of if Kwakwanso felt that NNPP cannot help him again, so we should beg him continue to stay in NNPP? If Atiku Abubakar, who has moved for about 5 political parties in the last 25 years, he has moved from PDP to ACN, from ACN back to PDP, from PDP to APC, APC back to PDP, PDP to ADC. How is that a problem? Peter Obi has moved from ABGA to PDP, PDP to Labour Party, Labour Party to ADC, and we don't know where he's going to move to next tomorrow. So these are people who are not, you don't even be, they see political party as only vehicle for their aspiration. That understand? Have you seen Bababisa Akode left his political party before? The only way they will transform is that maybe our party will change name. But in terms of the essence and core of our political party, we remain the same.
Right now, I speak to Nigerians at home and in diaspora. I also speak directly to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. With 90% of the National Assembly and over 30% of Nigeria's 36 governors in the APC, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, what are you afraid of?
Therefore, President Bola Tinubu and indeed our party, the All Progressive Congress, cannot be bothered about the contraption of electoral unviability being bandied as coalition. Even the word coalition itself shows confusion. Any student of political science will know that coalition means 2 or 3 or 4 political parties coming together, still maintaining their structure, but working in collaboration. You cannot go and hijack a political party on the same day that you join political party, become chairman, national secretary, and then you said Bola Tinubu is your problem, APC is your problem. You have decided to go and steal a Tokubo vehicle. So if the vehicle does have brain box problem, then you cannot blame us in that regard. Then the next issue, the purported misinterpretation of the Court of Appeal decision by INEC and alleged bias of INEC. This is preposterous. The factional leadership of ADC, which are the orders being implemented by INEC, was a consequence, as I mentioned, of the dismissal of an appeal filed by Senator David Mark. They lost at the Court of Appeal. They were not mentioning that yesterday. They are only in Yoruba language. They call something Ekun Egbere. You know, there is one norm that they always cry around. They are just crying Ekun Egbere around. They did not mention that they lost at the Court of Appeal. They lost Court of Appeal. The decision being implemented by Independent Electoral Commission was as consequence of dismissal of an appeal filed by Senator David Mark and his faction at the Court of Appeal, where the decision did not go in their favor, but rather the Court of Appeal upheld the position of the respondent. The person they were calling impostors was the one that succeeded at the Court of Appeal. If Senator Mark and his factional ADC leadership believe INEC's interpretation is flawed, because they were alleging INEC ought not to have taken that position, if they really genuinely believe, they ought to know the proper channel to seek redress. It is to go to court, no press conference, no banalizing and demonizing INEC. If you know INEC has interpreted the decision wrongly, you go to the court, back for proper interpretation. Absolutely. On his part, INEC has categorically stated that it is acting in line with maintaining the status quo ante bellum as directed by the Court of Appeal. So the arbiter in this case is not press conference, is not by the Ekun Egbere that they are doing. It is by going back to the court and get proper legal advice.
This INEC under Professor Joshua Amopita will be held directly responsible for whatever actions or inaction or reactions that follow this criminal path that it has taken. Our demand is therefore very clear. We demand the immediate resignation or sack of the INEC chairman. Professor Amopita and all his national commissioners. We no longer have confidence in them. We are convinced that they are incapable of conducting any credible election.
Exactly. Yes.
Let us also make it clear. We are proceeding with our party programs because there is nothing under the law that makes INEC's attendance a mandatory requirement.
Yes.
We have duly served INEC notice and we will proceed accordingly. We also call on the international communities to take note of INEC's activities of 1st April under the restraint we have exercised so far. We urge them to recognize the clear threat to Nigeria's democracy and stability, and to hold accountable those who are undermining the integrity of the electoral process. We call on Nigerians to defend our democracy. This is a defining moment. Stand firm, speak out, participate, resist any attempt to impose a one-party system on Nigeria. Yes. Nigeria belongs to all of us, yes, and together we must protect it.
And also, when you also look at what they were doing the act of public defiance. The public defiance posture of Senator Mark and his factional ADC leadership against orders of the Court of Appeal and disciplination by INEC not only amount to self-help, which is frowned at as law, but recklessness and a clear display of gross irresponsibility. More concerning is their posture toward the National Electoral Commission and the rule of law. They are not even ready to obey the rule of law to maintain status quo. There was a dispute as to your leadership. The case is still before the federal court, and you still want to go ahead and conduct congresses and convention. Does that look like people who even have respect for rule of law and democracy? Insisting on proceeding with party congresses despite an ongoing case at the federal court challenging their leadership raises serious concerns about their respect for legal processes. Such defiance signals a troubling disregard for institutions and due process, undermining any claim to democratic responsibility. Their call for the sack of INEC chairman and other INEC commissioners, they don't even want to sack, they want to sack the entire INEC. Maybe they want to go and set up their own INEC. Assuming the INEC, all of them even were removed today, or they resigned today, who is going to appoint another one? So if another INEC is also appointed again in line with the constitution by the president, you also ask them to sack. I think they are not ready for election. Their call for the sack of INEC chairman and other INEC commissioners further exposes a lack of seriousness and understanding of leadership processes of established institutions by the ilk of Senator Mark. As experienced politicians, ostensibly, and former public office holders, even though they did not do well when we were public office holders, they ought to know the constitutional process governing appointment and tenure within INEC, and that decisions are taken by the commission, not the chairman alone. And when they read what INEC put out, it said commission met and took a decision. It is preposterous that this undemocratic element have the audacity to call for the removal of not only the INEC chairman but the entire national commissioners. When I read the press conference, I was looking at the Samson story in the Bible that want to put down, the entire building over his head because he's going to die. So we cannot collapse institutions because you are not doing well in what you are doing. Then the other issue they raise is that the insistence to proceed with planned congresses and convention in defiance of the Court of Appeal orders and pending litigation at the Federal High Court. Nigerians should also note that the SAC David Mark's leadership of the ADC has insisted on proceeding with its scheduled activities, including congresses and convention, despite an ongoing case at the Federal High Court challenging their leadership and in defiance of the subsisting judgment. This again raises serious questions about their respect for legal processes and the rule of law. There were parties at the case pending, and here you say you want to go ahead. Do they have respect for rule of law? Do they have respect for judicial processes? It is settled law that court decisions are binding on all parties until set aside by a court of competent jurisdiction. The avowed refusal by Senator Mark and his co-travelers to comply with court decisions demonstrates a troubling disregard for the rule of law and democratic responsibility, making those bold assertions that he was making yesterday of defiance to judicial processes and national decisions, despite the clear legal implications that all parties must maintain status quo to avoid foisting fait accompli in the ongoing proceedings at the trial court, show clear desperation and absence of democratic and rule of law credentials by David Mark and his factional ADC leadership. Indeed, their initial resort to interlocutory appeal appears to have been a clumsy, hasty, and a flawed procedural attempt to stop proceedings at the trial court, undertaken in disregard of due legal process. Gentlemen of the press, the public should therefore be aware that the defiant actions being pursued by David Mark-led factional leadership of ADC amounts to illegality, and when those actions are eventually declared null and void by the courts, it will be disingenuous to blame President Bola Tinubu and the ruling party for the consequences of their own disregard for the rule of law. We hope that they will not come to tell Nigerians, when eventually the illegality came to haunt them, that it is the APC or President Bola Tinubu that is weakening democracy when they meet the consequences of their planned illegality. They said they want to go ahead with congresses, they want to go ahead with convention, despite the existing case before the Federal High Court, despite the decision of INEC to maintain status quo. We wish them well, but after they meet up with the consequences of their illegality, they should not come and say it is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, son of Abiba Mogaji, that is creating problem for them, or Felix Moka party that is creating problem for them. Look inward and stop figure pointing. So our message to David Mark and his group of coalition of confusion is that they should look inward and stop figure pointing. I go around all the countries, go to different states to mobilize. We set up zonal structure for our political party, which was not in place before. Every week we organize political program, we do mobilization. Some other political parties, they don't do same. they don't do program. People who are in press corps, they see us where at times I work here late till about 9-10. The national chairman work late, MPS work late on all issues. Felix Moka respond on all issues. The only one that respond to us is Bolaji Abdullahi to abuse us. He does not even address Nigerian people. He does not talk about developmental program. My sister, you are a journalist. We are politicians. It's not my job as a politician to help other political parties if they want to sink. In fact, ordinarily, I should help them to sink. That's the truth about it. So it's like saying, I like using football as an example. I'm a very good fan of Arsenal. It's like saying, it's like saying, Cup. It's like Cup. It's the day on the day of Carabao Cup when Manchester City dealt with us. We now start complaining that Manchester City should not have used the tactics they use against us so that we can defeat them. You see, the truth is this, and I've said it with all sense of responsibility. The so-called politicians they are not serious. And I've told you we are not serious. I'm a lawyer. There's what's called legal practice. If somebody had gone to court against you, you will sit down. I was an attorney general. And I'll give you an example. When we wanted to do local government election in my state, so people went to court to Abuja here to come and get injunction to restrain the holding of the local government election, because they initially did not grant the order. They said we should come and show cause, but our licensing office did not give us that processes. So they granted ex parte order against us. I filed for the thing to be discharged. Then those people did not apply for the order to be extended beyond 14 days. I applied to the court that the order had become expired. And I cited Supreme Court case, Pretender U, and the court agreed with me. So the order was discharged on a Wednesday. On Saturday, I proceeded and conduct my local government elections. But assuming, and I will also give you an instance, in Ondo State recently, our congresses, there was an order of court stopping our state congress. Here in this NWC hall, we decided that we cannot go ahead with that one in defiance of court order. And we immediately set machinery in motion to resolve the problem in Ondo State. The problem was resolved. The case was withdrawn, and then we proceeded just less than 3 weeks ago. So if we are doing what we are supposed to do, and somebody is acting in defiance of court order, why is it the problem of APC? Just Ondo State, go and check. You know, we made a statement that we are not going to proceed in defiance of court order. So if people, and then we have organized our world congresses, local government congresses, state congresses. You saw our convention. If there are any issues, maybe 1 or 2 issues which we have been able to resolve. So it is not our job. It's not the job of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to help opposition. It is their job to do that. They're now talking about constraining democratic contest. So if I want to play football now, I should go and kit my opponent. I should go and train them so that they can be able to defeat me or have a fair chance of defeating me in the election. It doesn't work that way. David Mark went to Court of Appeal. He lost. If you want the copy, I'll tell you the copy of the judgment. Go and read it. They awarded costs against him. Is it Bola Tinubu that was a party in that case? And the elementary, even people in law school cannot litigate that one. Order has not been granted. You went to court to say that you are appealing. What are you appealing? When the order, they say come and show cause where we should not grant, you rush to, and you spend 3 months.
That's routine.
It's a routine thing. Even law school students, if they do that one, they will not pass by exam. So if they decided to go there, I'm taking to explain to you that it's easier to just say propaganda. Unsedake, this is now a leader of his own political party. Is anybody fighting him over it? Accord party, they are there, they are doing their own. All other political parties, but if you decide, just as I said, to want to be chairman of a party on the same day that you become a member, you know that you have a problem. And when you also look at all the going about, they saw discrepancies in signature. Even look at the time element. You said somebody resigned in May. May, you did not file return to INEC in August, and you have taken over leadership in July. I also read another thing that they say even Rafungosu had already resigned before he added over to the party to David Mark. Did you read the case of I'm a lawyer? You read the case of Shonekan, why the court they said Shonekan government was illegal. They said there were decree 56, 57, 58 that was signed by Babangida on the same day. But you know, because of the serialization, one will come by the other. The decree by which he handed over was already signed before he signed the decree to hand over to Shonekon. 1993 we are talking about. When was that? 1992-93. The court said, having divested himself of power by a particular decree, he can no longer make another decree. That was how Shonekon was removed. So if Rafuwosu, according to what they said, though it's not our case, so has already left the party and now came again to come and transfer to the party. It's like somebody who had left our party now coming to come and say he's setting up a committee of our party. That is truth. So yes, it's good we are journalists, but we must interrogate some of these claims. That's why I set out the allegations. They said it is Bola Tinubu, President Bola Tinubu and APC. How is it our own? You have case in court. If they like, let them not go and defend the case in court and be sitting in their room and say it's President Bola Tinubu. Then for other political party, how is it our problem? Even IPAC, our party, APC support IPAC. That's Inter-Party Advisory Council. When they were doing the election, any program, when the president was doing the iftar for our party, he invited IPAC into the whole place. But in terms of tactics, organization, and structure, we are competitors. You cannot say that MTN should help Airtel to get a market coverage. It can't happen.
So thank you. Just